went from a joke my freshman year to a personal challenge my junior year, and then something I like actually seriously set my mind to, I want to do this. There were some really peak dramatic moments where it was in my face. So one of the most challenging parts of being on the Guard, and I just want to caveat, I loved being in the Guard. As soon as we were in uniform and doing our thing, there is nothing more thrilling about my experience at Notre Dame as entering the stadium with 300 band members behind you and rushing onto the field to a packed stadium. I mean, I have tingles thinking about it. Being on the Guard was an honor. It was thrilling. I loved the role itself, and I have no regrets about being part of it. However, it was excruciatingly challenging to figure out how to navigate a high-profile experience where I was being scrutinized and I knew I was breaking ground, and I was a barrier breaker, so I wanted to do it well. At the time where I was being so mistreated by my fellow guardsmen and never welcomed into the group. Everyone wanted to hear it was going well, and the reality was it wasn't. And it took me a long time to be able to talk about that publicly, because it's almost like being a victim. You almost think, well, I don't want to be the one to tarnish Notre Dame's story, and I don't want my legacy as a Guards person to be focused on the bad. There was so much good in it. For me, it was really, really challenging. And where it really came to a head, where it was very stressful, was there used to be, the band would go on the steps of the architecture building and they would do a Guard inspection. So the current members of the Irish Guard would line up, the captain would come and check our uniforms. Hundreds of people would be around us watching this historic tradition, and he would give everyone an inspection, and if he thought you were presented well enough, he'd give you this little knock. I never got a knock from the Guard, the captain. I was the one who never got a knock. And then he'd welcome any returning Guardsmen to come forward and do their own inspection. And this was the most stressful thing, because I knew that particularly the alum of the Guard were very dissatisfied with my participation and didn't know me as a person the way that my fellow Guardsmen did. I was just this woman who they didn't support being on the Guard. And a lot of them would have been drinking, and they were rowdy, and they'd be grunting and yelling in advance of doing this inspection. And the university administration had heard from very angry alum. They had intel that these returning Guardsmen were going to come to my first game and cause a problem. So they purposely put priests with collars and policemen around to make sure there wasn't anything that was going to embarrass the university and their behavior. But for me, it was so stressful because I'm just standing at attention. There's nothing I can do. I was in front of my parents, my relatives, my classmates, little girls. Everyone was watching me. They were curious, who is this girl on the Guard? There was nothing I could do to alter the behavior of these very angry guys. And so, I would just hope that Notre Dame, as it struggles with this constant challenge between tradition, evolving, and progress, we really have to make sure students are supported and that there's accountability to make sure that however Notre Dame is going to evolve to be a better version of itself, there's real support and structure to make sure it's easier for everyone to do the right thing. So that would be my message as well. It's not just up to the girls to just beat down barriers and kind of be the heroes. I think we as an institution and as a culture have to do better to meet them where they are and make it better. That kind of crazy experience that I went through has really impacted me as a person. I mean, it has impacted my career, my sort of, I've done some kind of brave things like moving to Liberia not long after a civil war, and pushing myself to take jobs that were outside my comfort zone, and just various things I've done. I think that experience in the Guard has been really it's been very formative. So even some of the challenges, it's easy for me to look back and see how 20 years on there's some grace and some growth in